Alright, since I have no time to spare, since it is a random Wednesday and I have to go to work in like half an hour, I am going to just be doing my makeup and rambling about different things I've been reading and thinking about. Because I genuinely wanted to do video essays on topics that I find interesting, but I have been feeling an unnameable grief, let's call it, and stagnancy when it comes to thinking and writing and doing creative things. So yeah, I'm gonna start by brushing my hair because it looks like I rolled out of bed. I've always felt, oh, I just removed my sticker. I wanted the mic not to look so ugly, so I put like an art sticker there. There you go. So, what have I been up to? Well, to be quite honest, I've been working a lot, and that has been, I won't say soul-sucking, because I like my job, or at least I convinced myself and still believe that I like my job. I do marketing, and I do a lot of copywriting, but I have felt a resistance to this whole productivity thing, which is normal, because I think productivity is very impersonal, and therefore it doesn't feed the soul, because you're performing for some metric, some momentous other thing outside yourself, and that's all good and fine at some points. Like, we have to do things for our communities and for, I don't know, our jobs within this system we're in this world we're in, and it's been like that for forever, it seems like. But there's no like inner incentive for me right now. So I felt very reluctant to give all my energy, time, and attention. But it also could just be caused by the fact that when I first started this job almost 10 months ago, I would be so anxious about the role and what I was required to do that I would work really long hours into the night sometimes. This camera is making me look like I don't even need makeup. Maybe I accidentally put the beautifier on it, but I actually have really textured skin. I don't know if you can tell. But I also have been taking care of my skin, because the grief that I experienced created a lot of inflammation. I'm just gonna go for a simple French look, because I have no time. French is the fancy way of saying barely any makeup. So what have I been doing to feed my soul? Well, I've been trying to do long walks. I have an app on my phone. It kind of tells me like how many steps I get, but it's definitely inaccurate. And I have like some people on there that I don't want to show. Or let me lower the... But you can see the blue dots are like the days I hit my goal, which is 6,000 steps. And there's not many of them, because most of the day I am quite sedentary, and it's really bad. On Saturdays, though, I run. And when I run in the forest, I tend to get about 10,000 steps just because of that run. And that run is usually 3.5 to 4 miles, or like a little less than 4 miles. So right now my average steps per day is 6,364. But there was a day that I spent with my friends in Baltimore at a BTS concert, and I had 24,661 steps. If I was able to just go a little bit more, which I probably would not, I would have died. I would have done a record for my life. Or maybe not my life. There have been times in my military experience where it's been crazy amount of steps that were never recorded. But anyway, what has been feeding my soul have been walks. Long walks in my very walkable, beautiful neighborhood in this city, Philadelphia, which, fun fact, is considered the most walkable city in 2025, and I think maybe even this year. But how would you know until the end of the year, until the year lapses? But I think part of the reason why Philly is so walkable is because there are just so many things people create outside their doorstep. And because of the row homes, they're all packed into one mosaic. And I think about this idea of mosaics. How, the most strange things, the most strange colors, the most strange cut shapes of glass can create a cohesive image. And I think about my life like a mosaic. Not to be poetic or anything. There's just been so many weird situations that I place myself in. So many awkward corners in life where I found the most dear friends, the most dear people. And I'm trying not to get emotional on a random Wednesday where I have to go to work in 15 minutes. But when I feel like my life, the obligations in my life, not just work, but many community obligations or obligations to people I love, who sometimes it may feel like drudgery to help them out, or to meet them where they're at, because that's what true love is, right? Is to sometimes sacrifice. I think about my life as a mosaic, and then all the pieces may not be so satisfying or beautiful in their own right, but collectively it's important that it is this way. I'm trying to find my blender. I have this one for you people out there who don't use makeup. Beauty blenders are really amazing, as long as they're clean and there's no bacteria in them, compared to a brush. But this non-comedogenic, I have to do this whole beauty thing. This non-comedogenic, very excellent for your skin CC cream, that is expensive by the way, you need a brush, otherwise there will be streaks just due to the formulation. I like to warm it up on my hand and kind of spread just a little bit, and then I'm not even gonna attempt to blend the green because I'm so red today. Red from fury that I've contained and have never dispelled from my body. So going on a brisk walk, maybe to a cafe. I don't give a crap about what people say about not spending money at a cafe and you can just do things at your house. Sometimes you need to inhabit a space that is not your own, and then find it to be your own. I was at a cafe around the corner from my place, and it was just incredible how I went there just out of the blue, just to be thoughtful to myself and to feed my soul and just to find focus while I was working, because I was working. And they had a Ways Blood song on, and I was like, I never heard her in public. I never heard her singing in a cafe. It's always some other music. It was something to believe. And I was gonna use a really weird word. Let me not use that word. But whenever I listen to her music, it resonates really, really much. Oh, now that sounds so clunky and weird. Maybe the word I would have used would have landed better, or not. But I've been, I don't know, feeding my grief and like having it held by her music for maybe the last 4 months. And the way I found this artist, which apparently she's like really popular and I just didn't realize she existed, was through a friend that I met on Discord. So my skin looks neutral here, 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 and then it's just like randomly red here and here. But I don't have the time to do anything about it. Okay. So what else do I want to talk about in this vlog? Oh yeah. So walks and going to cafes have been feeding my soul. Another thing that has helped me immensely in the last few weeks has been reading authors' opinions on writing. Like, how snobby is that? Like, I'm just the most snobby person in the hood. The most snobby person in the hood who collects like art and reads books about authors talking about what they think writing should be. What they think a novel should be. Yeah. I'm considering not using this bronzer next time because my face is already kind of chiseled. But sometimes there are days when I am so bloated from PMS or menstruation. I don't drink, so I don't get puffy from alcohol. But other things like sodium. So what authors have I been reading that have inspired me? Milan Kundera, Testaments of the Trade. Talked about him in my last video essay. I probably talked about him incorrectly now that I read this group of essays that he wrote. But I was basically talking last time about how nobody finds Tomas and Teresa's like battered and bruised relationships so edgy, especially these days when love is in this liquid state, as whoever that sociologist who wrote about liquid love defined it to be. And we're looking for something deeper, yet at a rapid and unnaturally easy way of finding love, which I just don't think is feasible. But yeah, Testaments of the Betrayed. I like found it in the library when I was working. I'm always doing something I'm not supposed to when I'm supposed to be working. Jeez. I hope my boss doesn't find this video. Anyways, I saw it on the shelf, and when I got up to rest my eyes from the screen, I was like, oh, this looks interesting. It's a Picasso painting of his naked friend. Like, How interesting could that be? Very interesting. So I went into it thinking about something someone said in a literature class I had years ago, in college, years ago, probably like 2 years ago. And they said that something about Testaments betrayed, and how like Kafka wanted his work to be burned, and Max Brod defied his friend's death wish and published it, and used like a blue pencil to erase Kafka's erotic fascinations, his like homosexual or like bisexual like curiosities, and Max Brod thought they were inappropriate, and he like crossed them out, and that like was the ultimate betrayal from someone who you would think would care for you and tend to your soul, especially posthumously. Is that said correctly? I don't know, whatever. And he's talking also about like the way conductors interpret different Stravinsky's music, or like even the descriptions in an art gallery that are trying to synthesize what an art piece means and like steer it in like some political direction, and how he like loathes that, Kundera. And what I liked about this book, now that I've rambled its synopsis to you, is that the heart and core of writing, although it may be your heart as a writer or creator, ultimately it is its own thing. It is its own living, breathing entity. So when you put it into the universe and it goes on the shelves for people to buy the publication or to watch or to consume, it is no longer you, it is itself. And there's something about that is just so compelling to me as someone who is unwilling and unable to write, even though I so desperately want to. Or maybe unwilling isn't the word, because I have the will to, it's not happening. And there's not a lot of, or maybe there are content on people who want to be something, but just they are failing constantly. After many years, the same repetitious cycle of self-doubt and discouragement. And I was reading Out of Silence, Sound, Out of Nothing, Something, and it's a guide for writers by Susan Griffin, who unfortunately passed away last year, almost a year now that she died. And like she talks about different writers talking about the starting conditions to write something, to create something into being, and the things that prevent that. Virginia Woolf's A Room of Her Own, she mentions that, and how like, you know, it was really hard for Virginia Woolf or other women to write in a landscape that didn't support women writers, female writers, and didn't pay good enough. And then other tendencies that make it difficult to write due to some conditions outside oneself or even within oneself. And she talks about Toni Morrison, who, you know, Toni Morrison talks about like if you can't see yourself, and if you can't identify the I in your writing or in literature as a collective, you know, literature is everything, literary, then it's impossible almost, unless you create your own self-authority. You author yourself. You anoint yourself the power to speak and to create. And it gives me the chills, like even now, like I don't have that. I am lost. And I think that's why I have this deeper grief. I was writing the other day, or maybe I should grab my journal. One second. So I wrote, I often find myself wondering, where am I? Why am I? Not in the sense that I don't wish to be, but in the sense that I don't know what to be. I repeat a poem I wrote in consolation of this deeper, inaccessible grief, a grief I may never reach, I may never know. And then this poem, it sucks, but like, it's just a part of the poem that's longer, and I do find myself repeating it, especially when I'm stressed out in the most weird, normal person situations, and then I just like hear this poem like pounding in my inner monologue, like, wow. Thrust into a restless world, I knew nothing, yet felt pain. Blinded by the fixture of my existence, I was shaken and smacked, caressed and embraced, as if it all meant nothing to me and everything to them. The process of turning me into something grand, and I was remarkable, a word I couldn't understand. And then it talks about like being whole and having to be broken and fragmented in order to become. Which, wow, so deep. Not really. I think it's something we all must go through, especially if we want to be an artist or a writer or a thinker. And my time is nearing to an end, but I guess I can read something from Out of Silence Sound. If you do not have an inner authority, readers will be less willing to read past the first page. Whatever their response to what you write, they must be able to trust you. And to win their trust, you have to trust yourself. For so long, I have not trusted myself. I have not been someone that I would consider trustworthy. Because when you deceive yourself so many times and you deceive others, you begin to diminish, because there's this like either idealization or like pretense or this veneer of poise that ultimately divides you like a wall, like a big brick wall that is impossible to break down unless you use a lot of force and you are willing to hurt yourself, hurt your hands and bruise yourself. Here's another thing that I want to leave in this video for you before I go. On the chapter Silence, consider this at one time all the stories we know so well, every line we may have memorized from a poem or a play, all the literature that has shaped our collective imagination did not exist, whether it be that powerful first line, "No man is an island," from a poem by John Donne, I don't know how to pronounce his name, sorry, or the ghost story that drives Toni Morrison's novel Beloved, or Thomas Jefferson's famous phrase from the Declaration of Independence, "Behold these truths to be self-evident." There was a time when all these words that are so familiar to us had not yet been written, where today there is the sound of words. Once there was silence. So I guess this video is for myself to build courage, to build heart, that, you know, I must bring something from within the silence. Alright, I have to go to work and put my mascara on. Let's see.